The topic of alien jokes is kind of alien to me. Mm,
You know why aliens haven't visited us yet?
why not?
They checked our reviews. 1 star. How do you get a baby alien to fall asleep? You rock it. What do aliens like to drink?
What?
Gravity.
Funny jokes. Welcome to the Unstoppable Force podcast. I'm Guy,
And I'm Rob.
and we're going to be talking about aliens. Ooh.
Do they exist?
Do they? I mean,
That's
I
the
feel
real
like
question.
there's definitely a lot of people that think they do, or at least
Right.
like that they have like impacted us
Right. Or
in
landed
some way.
here, come here.
Mm-hmm.
Or this is like UFO sightings,
Yeah.
such like that.
Like Roswell. I feel like
Yeah.
that's when everything like kicked off.
Yeah, like conspiracy. Like, there was two camps. There was like the UFO conspiracy camp, and then there was the debunking the UFO conspiracy
Hmm.
camp, and then like they just keep going back and forth. So anytime like, oh, now the military's gonna say it was just a training or it was like their weather balloon, then they're
Hmm.
like, oh, it's a cover up. Then there's other sides like, no, that's like even dumber. Like it's like a double like back and forth, and that like the debunkers fuel the conspiracy theorists.
Hmm. It's like a competition online of between these like two completely retarded groups of people that for some reason want to spend all of their time focusing on Roswell.
Yeah.
It was like nothing even, at least as far as we know, nothing really happened.
I mean, it was kind of before the internet, so
Hmm.
we didn't have like fake videos of UFOs yet.
I mean,
So
apparently,
it's
like the media kind of like ultra sensationalized
yeah.
the what the military had said to them, I guess.
Okay.
I don't know. I think there's like a time period when uh, for some reason like people were kind of into the space sort of idea.
Mm, okay.
Wasn't it? It was like in the 60s, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That was like right near the Cold War when everyone was kind of focusing on space, I feel like.
Yeah.
So I
So
think
like
that
there was
everyone was
some
fascinated.
right, so it was like testing, so like you had the military testing, then you had people that like oh no, it's that, like kind of sort of afraid probably of another government, but then they're like,
Hmm.
oh, like nobody claimed it. So then what is this actual thing? It's gotta be something alien.
The government, like also the US government, like kept track
Hmm.
of all the UFO sightings that have like
Yeah.
happened over these like years since probably like around the Roswell time when things started to get like I think everyone's kind of started to get
Yeah.
interested in aliens
Yeah.
and space and stuff.
Well, I think they might have like there's a couple motives. It's one is they want to know if there's a foreign government probably in the sky,
Hmm.
in around their the land or whatever, or they just also the government just likes to know who the fuck is around them. So they're gonna check and see like, oh, they said they saw this random thing, and they can double check on like, oh, their protocols on like who was flying in or flying out, or if
Hmm.
anything was testing, or if somebody sees something and they believe it's a UFO, and then that sounds crazy, but really it's some government testing some crazy shit that we never seen before. So then the government just goes, okay, you can just have that this was a UFO sighting, and we'll leave you be. You think you're crazy. You're not like
Just let
revealing our
them
secrets. Yeah.
exactly. Just think it's something crazy. But apparently, like, not only did they keep track of the stuff that people probably thought were UFOs, but like even just random sightings and like stories of
Oh,
people.
yeah.
And I think they were like, maybe we should consider the idea that there actually is aliens and like listen to people and maybe not like take them at face value, but maybe if you take all of the data and we like run through for patterns,
All right.
maybe there's something we can pick up.
Okay. Yeah.
And it was called the Project Blue Book.
Okay.
And essentially, all it concluded was that there wasn't any patterns, and there probably wasn't
Oh.
aliens, at least according to them. But then again, it's the government, so who knows? Maybe there is aliens. Everybody out there, who knows?
Well, maybe we've seen them.
Hmm.
I like to like. I mean, I think it's exciting to think that. Oh, what the heck is that? Usually it's just some debris or whatever.
But there's like even like the notion that like aliens have been around throughout
Yeah,
history
like
and
human
that they
history,
are
right?
like almost like our gods and that's who we
Right bef-
saw as our gods.
right before like we sort of became technologically advanced,
Hmm.
like way way
Like how did we
advanced.
build the pyramids? Like it's
Yeah,
got to have been aliens.
yeah.
Somebody drew an alien
Or
or
like
something that
somebody
looks like one.
picked up some big stones and put them in a weird pattern.
Hmm.
Who the heck did that?
That was like Stonehenge,
Yeah,
right?
that's what
Yeah.
I'm referencing.
But ultimately, really nothing has any real hard evidence. There actually is a one thing where apparently some sort of space debris or like matter was traveling towards Earth in like the last like couple years. I forget what it was called. There's like a specific name for it, but it essentially they figured out that the shape was like sort of a long, thin like
Like rod.
rod
Mm.
that was barreling over itself forwards towards the Earth because of the way that it was like moving and the speed that it was moving was really odd and it was like the only way they could explain it.
Huh.
And then as it was entering Earth's atmosphere, it just kind of whoop left
What?
and went in the opposite direction in like a way that we have no way of explaining in physics. And there was like a Harvard or like some like professor or some scientist, physics, what's the word for it? Oh my god,
Professor?
like not a professor,
Uh,
but like a person who studies physics,
physicist?
physicist, um, said that there's a chance it could have been an alien probe, but everyone's kind of like attacking them for that, for him for saying
Uh,
that now. But because they want to like
we
focus
have
on what could
any.
actually be
Mm,
physics and not
uh,
like throw this random thing
right,
out
and
there.
just like dismiss it. Was there any like we have know any material properties of it, or was just some
I
debris
think
we
that
couldn't really get it?
there was some stuff about material properties, but like ultimately they don't really know anything right now, and it's being studied for the most part. Like this thing just acted in a way that was very foreign.
We have
Um,
is there like video, or it's just like
I
because I
think we have
know
like a
that
rendered image of what they
okay,
think it might look like, but like
okay,
that's it.
because I know there's like records basically of space debris, so that satellites know, well, if they know if the satellite's gonna get hit or if they have to move.
Of extraterrestrial or alien life that has impacted us, other than just kind of anecdotal stuff. I think that I mean there could definitely still be
Hmm.
aliens in our like galaxy or our like universe.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's like equation, it's a Drake equation that like supposed to calculate the
Mhm.
probability of alien life.
Yeah, so it's like it's kind of like somebody put together the different parameters that would decide what would generate life that is capable of emitting a signal that we could actually identify.
Right. Okay. We can put
Um,
numbers onto it and know. Well, not we don't know, but we can estimate it based on hypothesis.
yeah, so actually I have the equation here. It's so the number of civilizations in the Milky Way that are transmitting an electromagnetic signal,
That that you can detect.
yeah, that we would be able to detect. So that's like the number that the Drake equation is
Yeah.
looking for.
Okay.
And essentially it's the number of stars in the Milky Way and then the number or like the fraction of those stars that have planets,
Hmm.
and then the fraction of those planets that are capable of having life on them, and then and essentially the way that part is decided is whether or not they're within like a certain temperature range of
Or
the,
distance,
yeah, like of the
probably.
distance
Hmm.
of the star that will allow water to be in the liquid state
Okay.
specifically. And then it's the fraction of those planets that life somehow miraculously exists, however it starts.
Hmm.
And then the number of those planets that have intelligent life that gets created. So, animals that are more complex and have like brains. And then the number of those planets that eventually get to the point where they've developed the ability to send like radio
Mm.
signals or like any sort of
Okay.
signal into space that is in
Right.
the form of a communication
Okay.
like we have gotten to like right about now.
Yeah.
And then the length of time that it's been doing that, because
Uh,
essentially like
Okay.
it takes all those numbers and multiplies them together,
Right.
and then
Okay.
that
Well,
is the
it's how
number.
long it takes them to do that.
Right.
Like to
No,
emit.
no, it's how long that they could have been emitting it,
Okay.
and they just estimate each of the numbers.
Okay.
So we don't actually know if the Drake equation is right or not,
Hmm.
but it's like we know the total number of stars, we know the number of planets, we know the number of suitable ones,
Right.
um, to like a more like a decent extent.
Right.
Like we
We're
don't know
looking.
exactly, but
Right.
we have a better
Right.
rough estimate of
Well, we're
those.
looking more closely at those planets specifically, so
Yeah.
we have more data on those than other planets.
But then the rest of it is entirely
Unknown.
unknown, and we're giving our best estimates and throwing them in there.
Hmm.
And I think like one of the more recent ones has said that it's like 37-ish civilizations that may be able to transmit signals,
Uh,
but we haven't seen any.
right.
But then the argument's like it's so big, the entire universe is
Yeah,
so
but we're
big,
talking
and
about the galaxy.
the Milky Way is so big.
Right. Yeah, and 37 and like how many stars are there?
4 billion or
Or
something.
yeah.
So it's like taking 4 billion and then adding or multiplying it by a ton of fractions, like huge fractions, that will boil it down to like 30 some odd civilizations.
Okay. Well, I guess it depends on how young like a lot of these solar systems are planets, because like we're fairly new, and like our human civilization and then our intelligent like civilization is very young scope of all the time of the galaxy.
Hmm.
So it might we might just like have really young other, like that happens to planets that might be good, might just be the super young ones.
You mean w- like we are essentially the only reason we haven't seen aliens is because we're one of the first
Hmm.
civilizations to get to this point.
I mean, we have. I think that we. I mean, I would say that, but there's like the universe and the galaxy so big and so old that there should be, well, like logic states, or like we think that there should be already intelligent life based on how old everything and how big everything is.
Where is it then?
Exactly. Um. Well, that brings us to the Fermi paradox, because we think that, with all these big numbers, and even with the big numbers, we have like the 37 possible like planets, that like if that why is that number so low if the probability and the scope of everything is so big?
I mean, is it so low? Is it like 30? Is that really considered low? Because I mean, I'm not one of the people who works on the Drake equation, but
Right.
I'm sure that anybody who's working on the Drake equation would be very familiar with the
No,
Fermi
right. I
paradox.
mean, I'm just saying low in terms of what like normal kind of person would think, not like,
Right, because we're
oh,
just so
we've
much
been
newer.
calculating it. Yeah.
Because I guess it's like if civilizations have existed for so much longer than we have, or at least these planets have been around for so much longer than the Earth has, the Earth being 4.6 billion years old, and these other planets being significantly longer, and I think to the hundreds and
Mm.
even thousands of billions of years old.
Yeah.
Um, and if it's possible that these things could have these planets could have had life, why don't we see a ton of it? I guess.
Right.
And it's like it kind of there's this idea of the great filter, which is either behind or in front of us,
Mm.
and we have to be like pretty close to either the beginning or the end, and it's either we have only just kind of passed it and we're one of the very few civilizations to ever pass the one of the filters, this great filter,
Right.
or we're behind it and it's just that every other civilization has already died
Right.
and we're just like one of the last to come and go.
Right.
which is
And,
kind of fucking scary.
yeah. Well, that's if we. So there's the two options, or like, yeah. I guess if we're the first, then we're right now. It would be that we're alone in the universe. But like, if we're the last ones, that just means that the filter has to be 100% effective. That means every single time that there was civilization.
Well, it doesn't have to be 100%. It just has to be like 99.9999999999999.
Well, like infinite nine infinity. Yeah.
Why?
Well, it's
I mean,
one.
there could definitely be life that's beyond what we can see. I mean, we definitely haven't seen a lot of the universe. We haven't seen even a lot of the Milky Way. We just know
Right.
planets exist in it. We don't actually see it though. We're not able to detect
Mm,
signals from every planet. In
right.
fact, we still have to land shit on Mars to even figure out if there's bacteria on it. You know, we can't even tell
Yeah.
without even in our own solar system we can't figure out if there's life on these other planets.
Right.
Yeah, we could. I think there's a planet called Europa.
Yeah. That's.
That's like a
Isn't that the
pretty.
moon?
Is it? It might be a moon,
I thought it was.
but apparently it's similar to Earth,
Yeah.
and there's water. We've already confirmed that there's water on it. Um, and if we were to say visit it and find that there's fish in that water, that could bode poorly for us as a civilization. In that that if life is common enough to be on all these planets, it must mean that they're all dying at
Right.
some
Well,
point.
the thing
So we
is,
actually want life to be incredibly uncommon, because if it's incredibly uncommon, it means that we're one of the few civilizations that pass the filter.
you don't know if the filter was before, if it was after the fish, for example, or if it's like, if we got past that filter,
Hmm.
right? We don't know if like that was like the fish is hitting the filter and then that's it.
Right, the
And then the
filter
fish got
could be like
past the
between us and
filter.
the filter.
Right.
Yeah.
So we don't really know that if just
Or
because
the
there's
filter
life,
between, yeah.
just because there's like other life that's, let's say, like not intelligent and like way basic, you know, down to cells or
Hmm.
bacteria, doesn't necessarily mean that we're screwed, because we there could be the filter between them and us.
I mean, one filter that definitely is a big filter that we've passed is like the intelligence filter. And I think that there's a good chance that maybe that could be lucky too, just in the idea that brains and intelligence is not always the most effective way of survival, because
Mm,
ultimately evolution comes down to whether or not a species is getting more food than everyone else
mm,
and reproducing and having its young survive to adulthood more than everyone else.
right.
So there could be have been intelligent species on other planets that actually died because it was not useful in their environments as much.
Yeah, but it doesn't, like, when you talk intelligent, like, I think it would be the point where you would be useful, survive, such, where you would have that intelligent advantage over, I guess, like, unless it's some, like us versus like dinosaurs, where like we
Hmm.
would just get fucked because like they're just so beastly, and then like unless we come up with some like tools and advance super
Right.
quickly, or like be able to mine our resources and then utilize them, yeah, we can get screwed like that.
Hmm.
um but I think that if it's intelligent enough,
It's
that.
almost like if trees aren't dense enough, then certain species can't actually
Mm,
evolve. You know what I mean? Like if there aren't any trees, other species can't evolve.
yeah.
Like depending on what sort of things can and can't exist based on the environments that these planets present
Mm,
can dramatically change how evolution starts, even from its like basest level
yeah.
when life starts. And it's possible that it was just lucky that intelligence, or rather that maybe even the environments of our planet sort of guided intelligence as being an advantageous trait.
Right.
Like brains use up a lot of energy. They waste a lot of energy. Not waste it, but they use a lot of it that can be used in other things, and they're usually very fragile. So you most of, if you notice, like all the smartest animals are not also the toughest.
Right, and the
They
strongest, yeah,
they
like
kind of rely on
physically.
the intelligence.
Yeah.
Um, but there's also like another really cool filter that is behind us that if there was fish on Europa, it would be bad for us. And that is that the idea of single cell to multicellular organisms, and that comes from, and the reason why it's in my opinion one of the most fascinating is because it actually is quite an interesting example of like almost luck,
Yeah.
where a single cell, some sort of single cell organism consumed what we now know as mitochondria,
Mm.
and instead of just
Ingesting it in a sense.
ingesting it,
Yeah.
yeah, they actually decided to work together.
Huh.
And
And
however,
yeah, mutual benefit.
mhm, like the mitochondria was getting extra resources from the cell, and then able to more efficiently give the cell energy, and then the cell, because it has more energy, was able to get more food despite the fact that that mitochondria was also using up some of its resources.
Yeah.
So they basically, it was just a win-win, and then somehow that type of cell is now the basis of plants, fungi, algae, and animals, all animals, which is what eventually led to us being able to exist.
Right.
And even like fungus are considered like superorganisms that are insane. Some funguses are crazy.
Yeah.
Funguses are considered like also like we could be descended from fungus.
Hmm.
Like all life could
Yeah.
partially be descended from fungus, which is crazy.
So is it because of how I wouldn't say unnatural, but going from the single cell to the know um organisms, is it because it's just so like that shouldn't have happened? Like they just decided, like scientists decided that shouldn't have happened, or like that was such a small chance of that happening.
I don't think it's that there's a small chance specifically. We don't really know what the chances of it are at
Yeah.
all. I don't know if you think we can really begin to imagine, like even throw a
Yeah.
number out there as a ballpark.
Mm.
Um, but I think it's the idea that it's almost like if you put a ton of, in chemistry, you put like a ton um, of different chemicals into some sort of environment where they interact with each other, and there's probably way more of these, like let's say it was a gas, there's way more of these gas atoms flying by each other than hit each other,
Mm.
and they have to hit each other to actually have something happen.
Yeah.
And in that kind of environment, you're increasing the chances of those two things interacting in order to have a reaction occur.
Yeah.
But imagine now, like you took all of that and you spread it out over an entire like planet, and then you have to add on top of that the chances of them even existing through their own evolutionary trees to be able to be there at the right place and the right time to connect to each other, and then have it be an incredibly symbiotic relationship to have such an effect to then spawn off
Mm.
such a new like version of life,
Yeah.
essentially. So if one of the two didn't exist, or they didn't happen to interact with each other,
Right. We
who
wouldn't.
knows?
Right. We might not. Or
It's like
maybe
the
we.
rat from Endgame.
Right. I just think that
It's like,
all
what are the
down to one
chances it's gonna
thing.
walk over the button?
Right. Right. Well, see, I think that we focus on ourselves so much, like as society and human, that we could be just thinking that the way we were made is the only way that it was made. Like the only way that like the mitochondria was like taken in, like that was the only way we were gonna get life from that. Meanwhile, there could be another way that life forms.
Well, I think the idea is that it just made the cells more efficient
Right. I mean, it
and more
worked. I'm
capable.
right.
So something totally different could pair up to do that too.
Hmm.
And then there could also be a cell that just learned to do it without finding another cell.
Mm.
You know, in terms of like other planets and their formation of life. But like we would still have to go to those planets to even discover bacteria, discover protists, to
Yeah.
discover even incredibly minor multicellular organisms.
Right.
Um, so we like it's hard to tell. And you know, maybe it is just intelligence or something like that. But it could also be something in front of us.
Mm.
And that's the more scary option because at least if it's behind us, it's like, hey, we're in the clear. But if
Right.
it's in front of us and everyone else has died already to it, it's like, what the fuck is it? Like, what's gonna stop
Mm.
us?
Well, I think, like, on that note about being scary, I think so. If it's behind us, and there's a chance that we're the first ones, like, there's high probability that we're the first ones that got by this filter.
Mm-hmm.
But and if we're not, that's just as scary as being up against the filter on the other end, because then you'll have the like aliens that are like intelligent, that would advance farther than we have because they did it first. Okay, and then chances are they become like they're able to traverse the galaxy or universe, and they see us with our signals out. Then they just come here and just we're done for after that because they're like type of you know society, right? I guess civilization rather, that just destroys things because they feel threatened because they were the 1st
Mm-hmm.
ones there, and they're like, oh, we did it, like we need some we did it and we didn't see
It's like
anybody
the
else. It's
Reapers or
our
something.
hmm?
It's like the Reapers from
Yeah.
Mass Effect.
Well, it's like they're scared because they're the first ones, and they feel threatened because somebody else might do it too,
Mm-hmm.
and like it took like their odds of them that happening is threatening. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, we made it, like we're not gonna let this go to waste, like
There's
can't
a
let this
part of me
happen.
that feels like in order to get to the point where you're that powerful as a race, altruism and like kind of working as like a group collective, I think becomes more and more important as technology like evolves
I
and basically I think that as technology is going to grow, like everything is going to get cheaper and everyone's quality of life is going to go up and like
Yeah, but
everyone's going to
that's
kind of like
within the civilization.
right, but I just can't imagine that a civilization being as old as it is like that would be like one of murder. But who knows? I mean, honestly, like we said, we have no
I mean,
idea
we
what
so
kind of
okay.
societies or what kind of
My
organisms could be created on other planets and how they would form.
my counter argument is look at like humans. If we're the first ones, we want to find everything, and if we feel threatened, destroy things and take it over. That's just our human nature.
Right, but that's right now. But this is like on a scale
Yeah,
of
but
not just
we're
like thousands of years, not just hundreds of thousands of years, not just millions of years, but billions of years. Multi-billions of years. And I feel like in a billion years, a
well,
human
you
race isn't going to be anything even remotely close to what it is
sure.
now,
Yeah, but like I'm not even saying
if it
that
even
I'm not even
exists.
saying that old. They didn't have to be that old to feel like to get to a point where we're harnessing all energy on Earth, then to move into harnessing the energy from the sun and then
I
multiple
guess we are
suns.
moving kind of quick when you think about it.
Yeah.
And if we're moving this quick, you'd think that other planet or other civilizations would as well, and other
Right.
aliens.
We have to base our knowledge on civilizations on our own because we have a sample size of one. We can't do anything
Mhm.
else. So if we have to think of a civilization as bad as we could be and then go off of that.
I mean, if you think that how far we've gotten in 4.6 billion years, and you applied it to every other planet, it's like you can look at a planet that's supposed to be Earth-like that should be able to hold that life, but it is 100 times older than we are. You'd think that there'd be a civilization there, and I guess this goes back to the Fermi paradox and why it's kind of scary that there's like no other civilizations that we've ever run into, because it means that there could just be like something that's killing them all, or that I don't. Maybe that they're just. It could just be that there's so few of them and they're so spread out, and none of them are able to get off their own planet.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a theory like that we're gonna be stopped by the speed of light, in that we can't really get
I
very far
see.
at
I
all.
I don't think so. I think that we can't focus on going super far, super quick. I think we just go slow and we do take like our solar system, then we have like move around our galaxy, and like each like civilization, each time you like colonize, each colony on a planet will create their own outreach, and then that happens. So in this solar system we create one, and then it goes out to another solar system, that doubles to another two solar systems, and so on, and it becomes exponential. So I
Mhm.
don't think we need to move at the speed of light just to cover the Milky Way galaxy.
Right. We just have to like look at it more as like a slow plan versus like a, oh man, let's
Yeah.
go out there and find like other life right
Yeah.
away.
Yeah.
I don't know, but humans are just too curious. I feel like even if we got to the point where we could colonize other planets within our solar system and within solar systems that are neighboring our solar system, then we're probably also going to make like one ship with either like a bunch of AI or some dude who's like, yeah, I'm good with being here on this ship for 60 years. Like, and they're going to go out to some crazy planet, or go to like
Okay.
Europa or
Yeah.
something and try to find life.
Okay.
It'd be fucking cool.
Yeah.
We're probably not going to be alive for that shit though.
Cryogenically freeze me,
Hmm.
please.
Like, I think we'll be alive for like AI and brains being downloaded into computers, but I don't think we're gonna be alive for like
Mars.
long distance space
Okay.
travel. I think we'll be alive for the first man on Mars for sure,
Okay. I
but
think
we
so
will
too.
not be alive for the first colony on Mars.
All right. I think yeah, probably have like the first like somebody's like living there for a bit.
Mhm.
Like no, he was there for 3 months and then came back type of deal. I think.
There's also, I mean, like, there's a formation of DNA was like a filter.
Right. But that's just a
There's,
code that like we can say it's a code of the universe, right, or whatever in our
I mean, I think that
like
there's other things that are other, I guess, like almost like silicon based DNA, or like
yeah,
like
yeah.
DNA that is can be created in another structure because it's just a
Right,
code.
exactly.
It's kind of like
Encrypted, right?
binary.
Yeah, it's like a certain sort of code or
It's
encryption. Like,
a four, I believe it's a four, like a, I forgot the word for it, but essentially it's the four different pairs.
right.
Or sorry, there's two different pairs, and because of that, there's four different total molecules that can be on one side. So you
Oh,
only need one side of the DNA in order to perfectly replicate the other side,
yeah,
which is like why it's RNA. RNA is like one half of the DNA,
yeah,
and then the RNA creates the other half, and then the other DNA that the RNA was pulled off of creates its other half. So it's like splitting and then recreating the other half because it's a perfect um mirror, essentially, or not mirror, but like, if A's on this side, T's on that side.
yeah.
So as long as we know A is on this side, we know T's on that
Right,
side.
that's with ours. So that's the thing is if there's some other like DNA or whatever, for
Hmm.
example, and we find some RNA, and we're like, oh, we can piece it together and know what it is, but like, meanwhile, that code is just different because of the way it was developed or came about.
Yeah. So there's formation of DNA could be something. I mean, there's kind of interesting. There's so many filters. There's also like the idea that human or like races, they attempt to build technology and further themselves into the future, but at some point they mess with something
Hmm.
that's outside of their control and they kill their own planet with it.
Hmm.
Like, I don't know, like robots killing
Right,
everybody
or
or
some
something,
physics
or
like
like,
like collision creates a
mhm,
black hole or something.
or maybe like everybody fucked up their climate.
Hmm.
Like nobody went for the clean
Hmm.
energy, and eventually their
Right.
planets got overfilled with carbon.
Right.
Like, who knows?
Was
Venus could have had life on it.
yeah,
Like,
it's
I
true.
think Venus is a lot older than Earth, and we know
I
that
think.
Venus used to not be the way it
Hmm.
was, or like the way it is today, and it's
Hmm.
further away, and it's actually, I think, within the temperature zone. But it's like the hottest planet in our solar system simply because of the greenhouse effect.
Yeah. Well, the thing about like destruction of civilization is even if some of the civilization survives, like it will be rebuilt. So it
Mhm.
has to completely destroy the entire civilization.
The runaway greenhouse effect could do that, which is the cool thing.
Mm.
Not cool. It's kind of not cool at all, but like in just an interesting way. where if a planet crosses a threshold where there's enough like greenhouse gases in the air, specifically carbon dioxide, that it will get warmer and thus more carbon dioxide will be produced because the plants will die
Hmm.
and the oceans will start to evaporate more, which
Hmm.
will release carbon usually. I believe. I believe the ocean releases the most carbon dioxide out of anything. It's true. I'm pretty
Really?
sure. Yeah.
Really? I
Yeah.
haven't heard that.
And uh, it will cause the planet to get to a point where it's really difficult to return it to normal, and it'll just
Right.
start getting warmer and warmer.
Hmm.
And the warmer it gets, the warmer it gets.
Right.
And so, if many civilizations accidentally break that threshold, it's possible that that is the ultimate cause of like many of these civilizations dying,
So it could. So
just
here's
killing
so
themselves.
here's like a sort of answer to like the future filter is
Mhm.
that we get advanced enough to harness like the energy, everything we can, or like harness energy of the sun. But like, what if by doing that we cause this with the
Right.
greenhouse gases? Like, it could be like by advancing so much, you're just gonna destroy the planet that you're on because
Hmm.
like that's the only way. But like, you're stuck between a rock,
We could also like fuck up making the Dyson
Right,
ball and then
right.
like blow up the sun that
That too.
collapses in on itself in like a
Right.
supernova and
Mm-hmm.
creates a black hole and we all die
Mm.
instantly.
Yeah.
You know,
Right. That could happen.
there was another thing that I read too, which was kind of cool. Was the idea that essentially the universe and specifically the Milky Way was too um, unstable for life, and that there's like was a lot of debris, explosions, you know, stars going supernova, and like all this crazy shit.
Yeah.
Not obviously in a much grander scale of time, just because everything in the
Yeah.
universe is so much more spread out. It
Yeah.
could be like a billion years between things blowing up, and that could be considered a lot
Yeah.
of explosions in a short amount of time.
Yeah.
Um, but essentially that this just stopped life from being able to take long enough to develop. So who
Right.
knows?
So I kind of just want to go back a little bit because the universe has been expanding, right?
Hmm.
And is it speeding up or
I mean,
this?
there's kind of, as far as I remember, there's been, I think the main thing is that it is kind
Like,
of separating and
okay,
expanding, but then there's been some theories saying that it's not anymore or
really?
something. I'm not
Well,
sure.
okay. Well, going with the one that it is, that could possibly increase the probability of like more like intelligent life.
Well,
So
actually, I think expanding means something different.
then it could be.
It's actually quite
Like
the
we can't count,
opposite. I think it's
like
everything is
dragging out.
spreading
Yeah, that's
out.
what I meant. Yeah.
So it would decrease the likelihood.
Well, it would decrease likelihood of us reaching or seeing one, or them
Mm.
getting to us.
I think there is still new stars and new planets forming,
Yeah.
and also everything's moving away. But there's also one thing I saw was that a lot of scientists believe that we wouldn't even be able to really explore other galaxies because even if we were to create something fast enough to travel to them, they're also moving away really
Yeah.
fast. So
It would just be our galaxy that
that's
we'd have to
why the
deal
Drake's
with.
equation is sticking just to the
Right.
Milky Ways because we
Hmm.
don't even think that we'd be able to go
Go
past
anywhere
past that
else. Right.
unless we teleported. And that we would bend time and space to do that. So
But
I
we
don't
have to
know.
just get close to the speed of light.
Maybe it's possible. Who knows?
Well, so it's kind of dreary. Think about if we are. So if we're not the only intelligent life, right? That means like in the grand scheme of things, that other intelligent life like starts colonizing other planets and solar systems and galaxy, and then that kind of goes towards a sense of purpose of colonizing the universe versus which takes us away from like our purpose where we're in a situation where we're not really caring about doing that anymore, right? Somebody else is taking care of that. But if we're in a situation where we're the only civilization, it's on our backs. That
Mhm.
gives us the purpose and the motivation. Like, all right, we need to survive on this planet long enough to push out off of this planet to go to the
Mhm.
next one and move outward.
And essentially, it's like almost being like the harbingers of life.
Yeah.
Where if we're the only one, or at least like one of the three or something, or
Right.
two,
Or
or
yeah.
like such an incredibly small number of civilizations that have gotten past this filter, that we will then kind of expand and bring life to the universe.
Yeah.
It's kind of, I mean, it's cool. I think it's only time's gonna really tell, what
Well, I think we're
our
going to.
purpose is, if there's any.
Yeah. Yeah. I think as a society, like as a society and civilization, basically, we need to find something because individual people, like, it's very tough to do that, and then like very collectively, it's like, oh, it's our human duty, like, to do this thing, and it's not like somebody's telling us to do it. It's like it was thrust upon us by something else that you can call it whatever you like, but it's like this is our gonna be what we're gonna do. It's not that somebody told us we have to do it, or
There's a natural interest in intelligent creatures, like a curiosity
yeah,
to see, areas that we haven't been to, and if it's beneficial to our survival to expand into those territories. And I think like any race that would get to the point where we're at would want to expand.
yeah,
And I mean, life in and of itself is purpose, is to sort of dominate life around it. It's a competition, it's every life is trying its best to beat out all other lives. And life itself is essentially whoever's best wins. Survival of the
yeah,
fittest. Whoever is the best at surviving moves on, and whoever doesn't falls behind. And that goes for even the social elements of a civilization, of a species, the technology we create, the resources we have. That's just like the next step. It's like there's biological evolution, and then there's like social and technological evolution.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, honestly, let me know, or let us know what you guys think. Yeah,
Do you think there's aliens? Are we alone in the universe?
yeah. I mean, there could definitely be aliens out there,
Yeah,
and we just don't know where they are. They could be old, they could be young, they could be
just
single
like us.
cell, could be perfect. There could be another perfect copy of our planet somewhere out there. Um, but yeah, let us know what you guys think. Let us know if you think that it's all bullshit and that there's no aliens and we're the center of the universe, and the universe, or the planet's flat.
Yeah, oh,
That goes,
absolutely.
go ahead,
Come on.
let us know. Um, but that about wraps it up, I think.
Yeah. As always, thank you for listening,
Liking
commenting.
and subscribing.
Don't forget to ring that bell.
And check us out on Instagram at Unstoppable Force Podcast, and on Twitter at UForcePod. We'll see you next week. And
And until
until
then,
then,
stay
stay
unstoppable.
unstoppable.